dear.
What's the matter?
It's already started. It's going to hell already. Let me see. So we've got the stream. We are all going. We should hopefully be live now.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going to be talking about the power of persuasive speech, in amongst other schlock. We've been away for a couple of weeks, haven't we?
Well, yes. Certainly away from this. Certainly away from our LinkedIn Live Tuesday Chew.
Yes, and hopefully this will be a bit of a shorter one. Power of persuasive speech. I think this is very, very important. And David Sandler said that going into a professional sales event without a prepared plan is like going into a knife fight with a banana.
There you go. Love it. Very good. And straight away, Danny is feeling persuaded because he said that he's been persuaded that we are in fact live, possibly due to our slightly ramshackle beginning, I'm guessing. Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, Danny. LinkedIn user. Good morning. Yeah. And that's good. So power of persuasive speech. I mean, there's so many ways which a sale can go there. Now, we're real advocates about a sales process. For every sales event, there is a start and a finish. And, I was really guilty. I used to just rock up to a sales meeting and be myself.
What's wrong with that, Roy?
Well, first off, I'm an engineer and therefore lacking all semblances of any personality. Which have a remarkable affinity for anything electrical and mechanical, but no personality. I'll never have any friends, and that's really that's I'm good with that. I think going into a sales meeting without any sort of plan, you are just being yourself, which means that you look just like everyone else, and it's hard to differentiate. And really, there was a study I heard about, 2012 study by a company. I've got it written down here, the Info Team Sales Process, and what they did is they hung around a building and waited for 200 salespeople. I don't know how many they actually spoke to, but they actually got to speak to 200 salespeople coming out of this building. And they wanted to talk to them about their effectiveness of sales. And the questions were, how well did the call go? How well they found the customer's reason to buy, their motivation, and how they differentiated themselves from their competition or even the incumbent, because sales is all about change, right? When we go and sell something changes, and people are not keen on change, are they? They like things to be the same. So our biggest competitor is who, Matthew?
Well, according to HubSpot, the data said that 80% of transformative, consultative business-to-business sales end up in no change whatsoever. So actually, our biggest competitor is the status quo.
The biggest competitor, status quo. So they asked these people how they differentiate themselves from the competition and how they rated themselves, and the results were, because salespeople are very, very enthusiastic. They're very positive, very optimistic. 87% rated themselves as above average to excellent. Now, above average is clearly they must be thinking they're better than the competition, and how they got this. So 87% thought they were above average. Then this same group went back to ask the people they'd spoke to what they thought.
So talking to the buyers then, not talking to buyers, yeah?
The buyers.
Yeah.
What they thought. And 3% agreed. So 87% thought they were above average to excellent. Go salespeople. And of the buyers, only 3% agreed. So only 3. So that's 6 out of the 200 events actually differentiated themselves from competition. That means 194 screwed the pooch. So they just looked so whattish. That's not good, is
it? Yeah, there's a bit of a disconnect there, isn't there?
So there's a little bit, and so when I was in sales, there was two things. If anyone bought from me, it was because I was a sales god. If they didn't buy from me, it was because they were idiots.
It's interesting. I mean, that, and we're being slightly sarcastic to illustrate a point here. But I mean, there is an element of self-justification in a lot of teams, and I've seen this not just in salespeople. I've seen it in managers. I'm sure you have done as well. I've probably even been guilty of it myself in my early days, and maybe it's one of those little watch outs that we've all got, which is that when something goes right, it's because we did it well. When something goes wrong, it's because external events overtook us and there was something beyond our control, and that can really sort of undermine our ability to learn from failure, and it's a self-awareness thing, isn't it?
That's right. We're going to hear a lot of it now, aren't we? It's recession, it's inflation, it's Brexit, it's COVID. The reasons they don't buy, but the same rule holds true. If they do, it's because I'm a sales god.
Yeah, right.
And so when we look at that, it's denying our company the opportunity to be great if we're only average. And again, when you said 80% of sales, 80% of events end up in no change, that's not good for us. And if the market is contracting, the slice of the pie is getting smaller, we've got a couple of choices. We can actually do our damnedest to retain our smaller slice of the pie, which is a risky approach because our competitors will be going, I want to take his slice of the pie, so my slice of the pie at least stays the same or grows. So we've got to do stuff that is different. And one of the things that I just want to talk about today is the power of persuasive speech. And again, I believe that everybody should go into every meeting with a documented plan of what's going to happen. So they've actually rehearsed a sales meeting. And I know there's going to be people out there. So, well, if I start rehearsing every sales meeting, start planning every sales meeting, what am I not going to do while I'm doing that? Well, if you're on a bit of a round robin, it doesn't mean you can't use the same plan again. But you have to have a plan and know what the plan is going to be and make it relevant to the event. And one of the things that I guess a tactic rather than a strategy, and it's only a small part, is persuasive speech to get their attention. And I think this is really what it's about when we go into businesses. We need to get their attention because we've got something that they should listen to. But the only person who can decide is them.
Yeah.
So really, the structure of persuasive speech is really simple. Really simple. An analogy, an authoritative reference, and an actual example. And again, we have to plan this. And we can talk about for us, and we've already started an analogy. Going into a business meeting without a plan is like going into a knife fight with a banana.
That works very well.
It's again, actually, it is.
Yeah.
And we talked about the authoritative reference, which was the company. I'll just bring up their name again because I've forgotten. The Info Team Sales Process, a very fine company. The authoritative reference, they did some work on this, and certainly within Sandler, we've got lots of things we can talk about. We can talk about, how over 60% of salespeople we've discovered, 60% of salespeople don't even hit 60% of target.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to get any better. And so we have an authoritative reference that we've got, and then an actual example to show what difference that you make. We call it a third-party story. And I was just looking yesterday. We can always find authoritative references about any of our businesses. Anything. We go to associations, we go to Harvard Business Review, McKinsey. I tend to go to those two, as well as some stuff by KPMG to find out what they're thinking. But that's where I find my authoritative reference based on what the message is that I want to say. And the third party story is actually bringing to it a real life example. It's got to be real life. You've got to be able to point at someone where this has happened to actually demonstrate this. So I was looking at one yesterday. I just picked up a subject, VA. There is a VA association, a virtual assistant association, which is pretty interesting. And in this VA association, I mean, the thing about a virtual assistant and absolutely great people, really needed, and they're great for small businesses. And I know a lot of us have used them. But they've got to sell as well. And their analogy could be something as simple as you are hiring yourself to do something that costs less, that costs time, but is paying back less than what you could do if you did it yourself. So if you're a plumber and you're earning £50, what do plumbers earn? It's about that, isn't it? I think the last plumber was far more than £50 an hour that I hired, but there we go. If you're paying someone less to do the stuff that you don't like to do and are not particularly good at it, you can do more of what you do well. And hiring yourself to do a job that's not worthy of your skills, or not worthy, that's perhaps the wrong thing to say, that you're not very good at, is the norm. And the VA Association has said that actually that people or VAs who work with companies, 70% of the people they work with haven't even got a system, which means as a business they're far less effective. And one of the VAs that I deal with is when they deal with their customers, they can do things 3 times faster than the actual business person could do. And there's a name, and we know who that is. It's me. But persuasive speech takes the form of a good analogy. What you're doing, you're hiring yourself to do a job someone else could do. Most of your sort of companies, most startup businesses haven't got proper systems and need them. And it's going to save a whole bunch of time. And does that make sense? It's a bumbled in there.
Can I expand on it a little bit? Is that okay?
Yeah, please. Do a build. I think we call it a build in our world, don't we?
We do. Well, yes. Expansion, build, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. So basically, a build, I suppose that would be an analogy, wouldn't it? There you go. It's a metaphor. As you're building on a foundation, that would be also a metaphor.
So you're so much cleverer than me. I love it.
What we're looking for here, basically, is when we are doing any speaking, it's important that we're speaking in the right way at the right time for the right reasons. And a lot of the sales process is about asking, not telling. So I think that's the first thing. We need to make sure that when we are doing any form of telling, it's very tailored to what is relevant to the prospect or the prospective buyer, because relevance is really the key here. And when you're doing any talking, it's important you're talking to the right part of the prospective buyer's brain. So that's why an analogy is really important, because it speaks to the part of the brain which is about curiosity and about emotion and creativity, because what you're doing there is you're switching on new neural pathways in their brain and making them think about something slightly differently. You're making them picture it. You're creating a picture in their brain. That's why an analogy works, because you're now talking to the right part of their brain. Then when you start to back that up and you start to bring in some factual pieces afterwards, then you're bringing in the other parts of their brain. You're bringing in some of the higher cognitive functions, and you're actually helping them to build out, or to build on the foundation that you've laid, the creative, emotional, intuitive foundations that you've laid using that analogy. So that's why this stuff works really well. And if anybody's interested in further reading, there's an amazing book called Influence by Robert Cialdini. It's a classic. Cialdini is spelled Cialdini. So it's an Italian name. Cialdini is an absolute classic of the genre. Well worth reading, because that really does add a lot of depth to this. And so when you look at sort of forms of authority, for example, you can look at celebrity endorsement, you can look at authoritative sources who are intellectually authoritative, you can look at the sorts of authority that Roy's given you examples of right there. So there's an awful lot that you can do to be able to build out your influential language and your influential speech. You don't have to say a lot to have a big impact. I think that's the really key thing. The biggest impact you have, of course, is through the questions you ask, not through the things that you say.
And I just made a note of that one. Robert Cialdini, Influence.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's going on the Amazon list. You're always good for a book reference. I like that.
There we go. Good stuff.
So again, the whole thing is again, power of persuasive speech is a tool you can use to get a message across. It isn't the full bag of tools, it's just part of it. But I think being able to gain their curiosity to find out more, and I think this is really where it lives, is do you want to know more and open up their mind to the sort of conversations that might be of value to them. I think is very important. It's just a very simple way to get going. And I use the phrase, people smarter than me have come up with this. And to be fair, I think if you did a bit of a Venn diagram, Roy smart and people smarter than me, that bit is huge. So I don't have to go very far to find someone who's smarter than me. But I think people smarter than me have found this. It gives some authority, and it doesn't matter what business you're in. There is somebody who has written something really smart about what you do. And you can build that in.
Just to draw back the curtain on what Roy just did there as well, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people smarter than both of us who spotted what Roy was doing there, which is by being vulnerable, by being slightly self-effacing, without damaging your own credibility, you are able to actually build additional trust and additional rapport as well, which is a really, really important thing that we do, where actually we make the other person feel that we're of equal stature. Because clearly we're smart enough to have at least read the stuff, right? So, we're not saying we're idiots. We're just saying that there's a lot of very smart people that we take authority from. And that third-party authority is really powerful. And then we build on that with our own experience, our own war stories, our own scar tissue, some of which might even be like one of those humble examples of just how we screwed it up in the past. But we've learned from it because we're at least smart enough to learn from our own failures, right?
So that's very important. There's a comment there for Joshua. I think Joshua Lines is someone you was having a chat with, Matthew.
Josh, yeah, absolutely. There we go. Hi, Josh. How you doing? Feels like a great follow-up on the conversation we had yesterday. Guess someone who makes marketing sales content is always a challenge to add this conversational ask, don't tell part of what we... Yeah, so what I was talking with Josh about yesterday is about, we had a slightly semantic conversation about the difference between content generation and copywriting, but I won't go there because that was very much I think we disappeared down a rabbit hole with that one. But there was, a lot around content generation and making sure that it utilizes persuasive language without being too preachy or too self-indulgent, and without really sort of stroking the own collective ego too much as well. It needs to be relevant to the individual and to the prospective buyer. Ultimately, relevance is the absolute I suppose it's the critical thing when it comes to personalization, because content should feel personal. all content should feel personal. And to a certain extent, both sales and marketing are after being able to target personalized content to the right sorts of people and to the right audience. And the absolute watchword of whether or not something is personal, the keystone foundational element of whether something is personal, is relevance. You know, there's too many people out there stick a name on something like, hello, insert name here, and they stick a first name in there and they think that makes it personalized. Absolute balderdash. Sorry, that's nonsense. That doesn't make it personal at all.
You didn't want to say balderdash, did you?
No, I did not want to say balderdash.
No.
I wanted to say something far ruder, but I'm far too nice, far too well brought up for that. I would never say bollocks on a thing like this.
No, I wouldn't either. Not on a live stream. I think
Definitely
that
not.
would be
That would be extremely naughty.
We'll cut that bit out. Okay.
Good, excellent.
Yeah.
You can do that live, can't you?
Yeah.
Can't you?
Continue.
Yeah, dot. Ellipsis. Right.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a great line. Danny says, "I never blame someone else." He says, pointing at the curb, angrily pointing at the curb he just tripped up on.
Absolutely, yes. Amen to that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy that I can use in the future. Thank you, Danny. I'll be stealing that one from you.
I do like that one. Yes, stupid step. Stupid step.
Absolutely.
I've had to sit on that a few times. Structure of persuasive speech, really, really straightforward. Build an analogy that would, again, trigger some thoughts in a person and take them to a new place. And build a picture in their mind so they can see what you're talking about and how ridiculous it is. Find some authoritative references, something that someone has put some effort in to read about, write about, research. Refer to that. And again, when you put this in, if it can be easily found on Google, just, hey, look, don't trust me, just Google it, because Google knows everything, right? And actually, the third thing is the third-party example, the actual real example of someone who, what they have found when they have done something like you're wanting to talk about. I guess bonding and rapport, it shows some care, it shows that here's some examples, and again, the talk track around that is, this might not even be relevant to you. Or they might have said something where this persuasive speech that you can bring this up is relevant to them, and that cements in the conversation. And this is not about trickery. This is all about to get someone to have the sort of mindset, tell me more, at which point you can have a better quality conversation. And not every event is going to end up in a sale, and not every event should end up in a sale. It's got to be a mutually beneficial relationship. And we just want to find out nice and quickly, will it be mutually a mutual benefit or not? And then we can either stay or get the hell out and go and do something else, while asking for referral as we leave, because we're honest and trustworthy, that sort of stuff. Here we go. Joshua says, I need to add a bleep button to my Stream Deck for live swearing coverage. I have got a bleep button here, actually.
The problem with that is that's almost only ever works if you actually plan the swearing, which means if you're planning it, then that probably means that you shouldn't be doing it.
Ah, right. Okay. Well, that was really all I wanted to talk about today. There was something else I wanted to talk about for this is where you can switch off, because this is a bit of an advert. But we're working with Staffordshire University, and on the 23rd of June for Staffordshire-based SMEs, they are holding a day-long sales training, which basically shows what buyers are doing to you and how you can improve your chances of success of differentiating yourself within a prospect. And it's a day-long thing. It's absolutely free. Apparently, we've already given the European government a whole load of money, and they're giving it back to us for this training. So it's absolutely free. You don't pay anything for it. It's a day-long thing. There's room for about 45 people. I think we've got about 10 more to go. But if you're a Staffordshire-based SME and you just want to learn some more about having a better conversation that differentiates you from your competition and allows you to go and get a bigger slice of that shrinking pie, you should get yourself over there. Let me know. Direct message me or Matthew or call us if you know us, and we'll get you in touch with these people. And we're doing it. So it should be a good event, and we can share some war stories and show you the scars, of which we have plenty. Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Working with a university, it's like working with a greenhouse that's designed for growing brains. That's an analogy. And did you know that 98% of people who have been truly successful in life have worked with some kind of personal development, whether it's coaching, training, or something of that nature? Look, that's an authoritative source. And in terms of war stories, I can definitely say that the more that I've read and the more that I've learned, well, just like Warren Buffett said, the more you learn, the more you earn. So there you go. I've put a little bit of an authoritative source along with a personal story there as well. So there's your triple threat of the things that you were suggesting. But then, getting a bigger slice of the ever shrinking pie is also an analogy. So you did that one as well. So there you go.
Keep on throwing them in, right? It's good. So I think we're about 4 minutes spare. I think for the first time ever we haven't run over. Unless there's anything that we should talk about.
Very good. Well, I think we should probably quit whilst we're ahead and let everybody get on with their lives.
Take care, everyone. Thank you, Matthew. Learn some persuasive speech. It'll make a difference. Take care. Oh, it's good. There he is. No, hang on. He's that side. It's goodbye from him. I'm going.
Elliot.
I'm not old enough to know that film.
Obviously.
No. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.